Well, good morning, and thank you for joining us. This morning we want to discuss the rash of shootings that have been taking place in our community. These shootings are both dangerous and reckless, and not at all what Springfield is about. It is our intention to stop this before an innocent bystander is killed or seriously wounded. As you can see, we have various units of law enforcement and the justice system working together and combining their expertise and information to stop this rash of shootings in our community. We have mobilized all the law enforcement resources that are available in the community to focus on these shootings. Joining me this morning are representatives of the Springfield Police Department, the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office, the State's Attorney's Office, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the FBI, the U.S. Marshals Service, ATF, and the Illinois State Police. We have a message that we want to deliver to the perpetrators of these shootings. Anyone participating in these shootings in any manner will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, and we will be asking for the maximum time in prison. We will also be asking that juveniles who are involved in this to be treated as adults. There are going to be severe consequences for actions. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Chief Winslow. Chief?
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Chief Winslow with the Springfield Police Department. We are here today to show a united front in our efforts to rid our community of the recent gun violence. The persons responsible for these reckless acts are placing innocent people in harm's way. In effort to bring those people to justice, we are partnering with our fellow law enforcement agencies throughout the community, as well as our cohorts at the Sangamon County State's Attorney's Office and the United States Attorney's Office. The message is clear. Put down your weapons and stop the violence. We are not going to tolerate these actions in our community. It is not the accepted norm of Springfield. We will not rest until those who are held accountable for their actions. If you want to play with firearms, be prepared to face the consequences. With the community's help and our focused efforts, we will be successful. It will take a team effort on our part and the community. We have identified several persons of interest and are actively and vigorously investigating each incident. Again, the message is simple. Put down your weapons and stop the violence. For our partners in the community, we again ask for your support. We encourage all of you to report any suspicious activity to the Springfield Police Department or submit any tips, photos, videos, etc. to Crime Stoppers. Thank you. I'll turn over to John Milheiser.
Thank you very much, Chief, and thank you, Mayor, and thanks everyone for coming. The message is clear, and the message is that we are working together in our community to make sure it's safe, to do what we can. We're combining resources. I can tell you the State's Attorney's Office always works with the U.S. Attorney's Office, our local law enforcement, and federal law enforcement, but we're ramping that up. We met yesterday with members from the U.S. Attorney's Office, and U.S. Attorney Jim Lewis has promised support from his office to do whatever we can to curb this violence and to go after these individuals. And we'll continue to do that. There is no higher priority from the State's Attorney's Office, and I know from all those in law enforcement, than the safety of our community and the safety of our public. And so we're going to continue to make sure we do that, and we're going to go after those individuals that are committing these crimes. And specifically, and the reason we're having this press conference now is because of the rash of shootings that are going on. And as the chief said, there are individuals that are identified, and those targeted individuals we're going after them. And the message is simple, that we're combining our resources and we are going to go after the individuals that are committing these crimes. And I also want to thank various members from the federal law enforcement community that are here because their assistance and the resources that they can provide are essential. And they help local law enforcement. We have Under Sheriff Jack Campbell here. Thank you for his support, and the Sheriff's Office, who are vital in going after these individuals Because oftentimes, while these shootings might be occurring in the city of Springfield, they also have occurred in the county. We have the same individuals in different jurisdictions. So by talking and by using our resources together and a unified front, we can better solve these crimes and make sure these individuals are prosecuted to do what we can to keep our streets safe. And with that, I'll turn it back over to the mayor, and I think we can answer any questions.
Questions?
Mayor, or maybe for Chief Winslow, have any of these persons of interest been brought in yet for questioning? Have you talked to any of them? Are any arrests imminent?
Absolutely. We are following up all leads, and we have received some. The community has been helping us. We still need a little bit more, obviously, or we wouldn't be here asking for that help. We have interviewed several people, and we continue to investigate fully.
It seems like a lot of the stuff that's been going on is in retaliation to other things. Are we seeing a bit of a gang influence here, gang problems?
What we're seeing is basically multiple groups that are associated that we believe to be related to multiple incidents. Several of these incidents are related. Obviously, we're tying together. We don't want to get into the specifics of our investigation and say anything that might harm our investigation, obviously. But we do believe that several of these are related, and they are done by the same groups of people.
But are these groups related by, are they families? Are they schoolmates? Are they, what's bringing these groups together?
It could be a combination of the several things you just said. It could be people who are associated through family, friends, locale, neighborhoods, schools. All that's on the table right now. We're not ruling out anything as far as how they are related. We do believe they are related. We do believe that they are associated.
Specifically, it was mentioned as far as juveniles. Are some of the people that you're looking at as persons of interest underage?
Some are, yes.
How young, can you say?
Teenagers.
Chief, how many shooting incidents are we talking about that you think are related?
Since March 8th, we've had several. We're in the double digits. We believe that we're in excess of 20 that are possibly related.
We're getting close to the summertime. Just like the temperature starts to get hot, blood kind of boils this time of year. Are we worried that these numbers are going to go up once school's out, the summer times here, people are out doing things? Are we concerned about that?
Obviously, we typically do see a spike when the weather warms up, but obviously we're taking steps now to try to curb some of that, and we believe we will be successful and that we will be able to keep those numbers under control or even reduce them.
How many different shooters are we talking about? Is it just one or two people in each of these groups, or has everybody got guns and they're all taking shots at each other?
That's part of the investigation right now. We're not going to reveal exactly who we think the shooters are or how many shooters that there are.
Are you going to put more people into the neighborhoods in the evenings and the afternoons? Are you going to increase presence in the areas?
Patrols have been increased. Obviously, we're doing some specific details that we don't want to get into right now as what our strategies are going to be, but obviously you'll see an increased presence.
How closely are you guys working with groups like Ceasefire and other community groups to try to get what's going on the streets, get the word out, and kind of figure out what's going on?
Obviously, Ceasefire, we fulfill our partnership with them. We provide them statistical information on the shootings or shots fired incidents, and then they do their thing. They're not associated with us. They're not an agent of the PD. Obviously, we have the same common goals, and that's to reduce violence, gun violence in the community.
For technicality purposes, could you define what the difference between a shots fired versus an actual shooting?
A shots fired could just be where we get a report of shots fired and we get there and we find shell casings but no victim, no damage, etc. But obviously there was some type of rounds being shot off.
Do we know how many victims there are as a result of these shootings since March?
I don't have that information with me.
Are these persons of interest believed to be local or any out-of-town influence?
We're not going to rule anybody out, but we believe the majority are local.
The common thread here is obviously firearms. Can anybody address where they're getting these guns? How are they coming in? What's being done to address the flow of weapons?
Right now, we're not sure exactly how they're getting them. We probably believe that, some may be attained legally and illegally. At this time, I don't have that information to share.
Some of these incidents have been in the county. Do you have a number on that?
No, I do not.
Okay. Jack?
No. Again, ours mostly come in as shots fired. We get there and we find nothing, so we're not sure if they're related or not.
Mr. Millhiser, obviously the message here is not taking this lightly. Why is it so important for you guys to enforce this to every bit of the law that you guys have in your office?
One, I think it's obvious that when somebody is out there shooting a gun off, innocent bystanders can be killed. along with the person that may be intended for that shot. So it's very, very important in these cases to overall protect the public and the safety of individuals out there, whether they're have their kids waiting at a school bus stop or they're going to the store. They need to feel safe when they go out in our community. So that's why it's very, very important to go after these individuals. And the mention was guns. I think somebody mentioned that. We have a partner from the ATF here, Tom Dart, and we really appreciate their support in going after these individuals with guns. A partner from the FBI here. I mentioned the U.S. Attorney's Office. So looking at all the resources we have in the community, both at the state and federal level, to go after these individuals.
Mayor, could you potentially see charges beyond standard UUW in this? Because at this point, if we're talking about just shots fired, nobody's injured, what are you potentially looking at charging these people with?
Again, it all depends on the case. And I can tell you, just sort of by example, we work closely with the U.S. Attorney's Office daily, weekly basis in cases. So oftentimes, depending on a suspect's criminal history, that defendant might have or serve more time if they're prosecuted on the federal side or the state side. So those discussions take place frequently to see where is the best avenue to prosecute this individual based on their criminal history and based on the specific events of that current crime.
Unlawful use of a weapon by a juvenile, is that an automatic transfer to adult court? Will you be asking that?
It all depends on the case and the age of the individual. We have individuals who are 15, 16, 17 years old. And the law is now most recently changed that until you're 18, you are not considered an adult. It used to be once you were 17, you were an adult. Now now 18. So we do have some juveniles, and we will look at prosecuting those individuals to the fullest extent. Depending on what the crime is, it might be an automatic transfer to adult court. There's also certain crimes that are permissive transfers. And if they're permissive, we will be going to juvenile court to request of that judge that that person be transferred based on the severity of the offense to adult court.
Mayor, you made some very pointed comments directed toward the people who are responsible for this. They've been doing this for weeks with impunity, and presumably they've known all along that they could be arrested if they get caught. What makes you think they're going to listen to what you're saying now?
I think that we have developed a strategy. We have brought resources together that we have not brought together before, and I think that what we are doing is warning anyone who uses a weapon in the city of Springfield. You know, we're talking this morning specifically with regards to the shooting. But one of the things we want to do is anytime anyone uses a weapon in any crime in the city of Springfield is to go after them as hard as we possibly can, because we simply do not want this happening within our community.
Mr. Mayor, I guess, being the leader of the city, I mean, obviously you have concerns about what happens here. I guess, as we just heard the sirens go off, every time you hear those sirens, are you concerned that it is another shooting incident in Springfield and that folks may just not feel safe as these sort of things continue to bubble up?
Well, I am very, very concerned, but I'm also very concerned on a daily basis, and it's not just with regards to these shootings. The first thing I do when I get up in the morning is turn on my iPhone to see what happened overnight in terms of what types of police activity has taken place. And the chief will verify that I am very frequently asking questions with regards to specific incidents within the community, because one of the things that happens as things are allowed to happen, you end up with more and more of those types of activities, and the best way to try to curtail this is to come down very, very hard, and that's exactly what we intend to do.
You're talking about what's being done in response to these incidents. Is there more that can be done proactively to try to prevent them in the first place, to try to change mindsets, attitudes, this culture of violence that is existing in some parts of town?
I think that there are consequences for anyone that is going to be involved, particularly in these shootings. And when I say anyone, one of the things I want to emphasize is that when you have this taking place, there are more than people who are involved directly in firing the gun. And someone who is involved in any way, shape, or form, be that providing a vehicle, be that providing a weapon, be that providing ammunition, can expect to be charged and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. It is not simply a matter we're talking this morning about the people who are firing guns.
But that's still, again, after the fact. What more can be done before it gets to this point? Is there anything that can be done, or we just have to deal with it after it happens?
We have a strategy in place, and that is being implemented.
Is there a concern that these aren't isolated to one area? They're all over the city now. Is that a little disconcerting that it's moving throughout the city?
Anytime you have an incident, no matter where it happens in the city of Springfield, it's something that I personally am very, very concerned about.
But what is different this time, though? I mean, these shootings have gone on for a long time. What makes this different that it's now brought this kind of response about to it?
Because of the frequency of the way it is happening, the just lack of any thought process at all in terms of firing weapons, and you're not talking about firing one shot or two shots. You're talking about multiple shots, and sooner or later a bystander is going to be hit.
Just a couple more questions. Obviously, in comparison to the size of the city of Chicago, where we see a number of shooting-related violence events yearly, are you concerned with the frequency of shooting-related events in the last month or a little over a month? Are you concerned that Springfield may pick up a trend similar to what we could see in Chicago?
What we intend to do is to stop the trend and to stop it very, very quickly.
Can you elaborate on what that plan is that you guys are working on? Is there anything?
No, we're not going to talk in terms of what the strategy is, but we do have a strategy. It has been implemented.
Is this an official task force that you guys have kind of formed?
Again, we have a strategy in place.
Are you seeing more cooperation now these few days since you've already put that call out to say, please come forward, please help us out? Is that generating more tips and more leads?
Again, I don't know that we want to get into specifics. We need all the help we can get, and we need the help of the average person out there who may have information. You know, if you listen to the national news this morning, someone got a tip with regards to a potential school incident that they were planning on killing a family and bombing a school. Someone had a curiosity about something that was taking place in a storage unit, made a call, and a major incident has been prevented. Somebody may have a small bit of information that really doesn't mean a whole lot to them, but given to the right people and our ability to put our resources together, it can have a major impact in terms of what we're dealing with here in the city of Springfield.
Okay,
Thank you.